All right, what is good, ladies and gentlemen, is the Master Reviewer back again with another review, and today we are doing a review for Ninjago Dragon Rising Season 3 Part 2. This is a first-time watch for me. That is right, I am in new territory now with these last two current seasons that are released, and so this was a first-time watch that I watched it, started yesterday and finished it today. And yeah, we are, besides that, no other background. It's been over a year since I watched a new episode of Ninjago, so this was very exciting for me to see. And yeah, we're just going to get into it. Starting off with, I didn't speak about any of the Dragon Rising intros, but I do actually want to speak about the intro because I just forgotten all the recent reviews for Dragon Rising. But yeah, the Dragon Rising, they do change the intro. It's not the intro that we had in the original series, but it's not the Weekend Whip song, but it is definitely still a good intro. I do like it. It's like different, and it's like really short. It's only like a few seconds, like I think a total of 5 seconds. And I do think season 3 has the coolest. Like in season 1, it had a specific one where it was just Eren, Sora, and Lloyd. In season 2, it was another one kind of showing off the wolf masks and stuff. And then in season 3, it is showing off Thunderfang and the ninja, and it does like a nice bit of, I think it's like reverb or something, but they do like some audio mixing, which I think is really nice in the intro. So just point that out because if there's a good intro, I want to point out. So yeah, let us just begin starting off with the plot. So the plot of this season, it is a bit of a shame because it is kind of just, they're in a way kind of just repeating the plot of the first part of the season, where in the first part, the whole plot was getting the 5 prismatic blades in order to free Thunderfang. And in this half, it's basically just kind of the same thing where you have the Forbidden 5. They are trying to collect enough souls just from wherever in order to be able to, I guess, free the, it's not the ghost version because like ghosts are established as being different from this other entity where it's, I forgot what they're called to be honest, but they are basically these ghost-like entities, but they're not ghosts, they're like soul suckers. I remember the soul suckers are these type of, I'm gonna check actually just give me a second here. Okay, so I checked, and technically they are ghosts, but it's like this special kind of ghost where I think it's apparently, they're like hollow ghosts of some sort where they're invisible and you can only see them with prismatic steel, and they're not vulnerable to water like regular ghosts are. They are vulnerable to sunlight or a enhanced version of the prismatic blades. So the plot of the season is that the Forbidden 5, basically, in order to kind of, I guess, free Thunderfang from the Spectral Lands, because that is where he went after he was defeated in the first half of the season, they need to free him. In order to do so, they need to collect enough souls. So most of the season is just them going around different areas in the Merged Lands, Mysterium, what else? The Land of Lee, which is a new area, which we will talk about in a second. They go to also the City of Temples, Ninjago itself, I'm pretty sure. So the Land of Lost Things, they just go to all these areas in order to collect souls, in order to eventually free Thunderfang. So I don't really like it as much as the first half because it is just it's a bit repetitive and it's not as interesting of going after just character souls because they could just go anywhere for that. Like there's not a specific thing that they need to go after. Whereas in the first half of the season, when they're actually going after the prismatic blades, it feels like a more MacGuffin style season, which I just thought was a bit more engaging because the ninja themselves were able to get the prismatic blades and it led to actual conflicts. Whereas the ninja just so happened to be in the areas that a lot of the Forbidden 5 go to in order to collect souls. So yeah, but besides that, basically so that like happens for, I would say, the first 6 episodes, and then in the 6th episode, like towards the final 4 episodes, they actually realize what is going on. They find out that the Forbidden 5 are trying to free Thunderfang, and then from there they learn about, in the City of Temples, they end up getting Bleck's help, and he basically tells them that, the way to defeat Thunderfang is like you need to free the Archdragon of Focus, and to do that you need to go to Ninjago as well as Mysterium, because that is where the 2 halves of the Archdragon, they're split up, and you need to go to those 2 locations in order to play a specific tune in order to free the Archdragon of Focus 2 halves, and then you also need to get this specific item you need to bring it to the Spectral Lands, and then use it to summon when both halves of the Archdragon of Focus are free. Then you use the object in order to summon, I forgot what it's called, like I'm going to check again, I'm forgetting all the names for some reason. Right, so they use the Unbidden Storm, and so basically the team splits into three different teams. You have Lloyd and Eren, Sora and Wildfire, as well as Nia. She goes alone, but then eventually Kai and Jay eventually also meet up with her. So then they free the Archdragon of Focus, and then eventually the Archdragon of Focus fights Thunderfang, and they end up managing to defeat him. That is like the main kind of thing that happens during the plot of the season, but there's also like a lot of side stuff that go on with, yeah, specifically the big one this season is the whole Land of Lee plots, where we will actually, I'll probably talk about this like when we actually get to the characters and the set. I'll talk about it actually a bit like all in one, but I'll just kind of like jump around between categories, I guess, for this review. But yeah, the Land of Lee, it is a new realm, and honestly, I don't like it as much because I feel like they didn't, I don't know, as a realm itself, it doesn't really feel like a realm. It just feels like this location that Lee just had this guy Lee who was able to make clones of himself. And I looked it up. Apparently, he's not an elemental master, which I thought that could be like a good feature about his character. Like I thought it would be okay. He's like the elemental master of, I don't know, clones or something, or duplication, something like that. I thought that could have been a nice character feature. So it's like we're learning more of the lore, but he just so happens to be this guy that lives alone in, apparently it's a realm, but it's just this wasteland. It's like this empty area, and he is able to duplicate himself. It just feels like very out of place, to be honest. And the actual whole plot line is that he is kind of running this cult thing. It's not really a cult, but it's like basically this area where people get sent to him, and then he manipulates them, basically saying that the merge caused all the realms to be destroyed, and the land of Lee is the only place left. And so yeah, he brings them to his like little community, and then anyone that starts questioning and getting different ideas about like maybe he's lying, then he ends up brainwashing them, and then he creates these fake gravestones in order to like put outside of the land, because it's like the whole place is underground. And so he uses the fake gravestones, and it's actually the place that Roz brought Eren to in the first half of the season. So that is why Eren thought that his parents were dead, but his parents are actually alive. And so yeah, that whole plot line, I would say the plot line itself was like not as bad as the whole in concept. I think the execution was like fine, but the actual in concept, like the land of Lee, I don't think it really works too well for me. And the use of Lee's character, it was like sort of interesting with him. It's kind of stupid because the whole thing was that he himself was like, he was alone for all his life, but then when the merge happened, it's like he was able to contact new people. But then instead of him going off like to meet new people, he was like, oh, I can't leave the land of Lee because then it wouldn't be the land of Lee, which is just really stupid logic. So he ends up staying in the land of Lee, and instead of him going out to meet new people, he ends up like basically pseudo kidnapping them and forcing them to join his like little cult. So yeah, anyway, that's like the other kind of main thing that happens. There's also stuff that happens with the Finders, the Land of Lost Things. Cole, he acts like really stupid, to be honest. He like, you have Kai telling him that he's acting irrational, when if Kai's telling you you're acting irrational, then you're probably not doing something right. So yeah, Cole, just for some reason, he goes head on to fight Noct. Well, even Noct while being hollowed, he's still very powerful. So Cole in the process, he ends up losing his soul. And yeah, overall the plot, I would say, the plot for the season as a whole, I would give probably, it was like, I don't know, I'm not going to give it like, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5, honestly. I don't think I liked it just because of the fact that it's like a repeat of the first half of the season, but it doesn't feel as good. I thought that the prismatic blades going after them in order to free, what's the name, Thunderfang, was better than them just going around in like the merge lands collecting souls. So I would say I'm going to give the plot a 2 out of 5. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't really like it. The more I think about it, comparing it to the first half of the season, it just didn't work as well. But you know, the side plots and stuff, which I'll get into, they are a bit better than the actual main plot itself. In terms of the characters, you have, I guess, the regular ninja. I think Jay, the whole side plot with Jay is great. I think it's actually probably, I'm going to say now it's the best part of the season, and I would give it probably a 7.5. I thought that, yeah, it was very good. I really liked the Jay side plot, and so Jay this season is great. Nia as well, she's very much tied with the whole Jay plot line of her trying to help Jay with his memories, trying to like just spend time with him in order to possibly help him get some of his memories back. And then by the end of the season, he does kind of return in order to save Nia, so I thought that was good. Kai, he is pretty sidelined this season. He's not really in the season too much, but he is a bit. He's like mostly with Cole and the Finders in the Land of Lost Things, so they were fine. Cole, I thought, was just acting kind of stupid, just going headfirst into fighting Noct. Even with Kai being like, hey, this is stupid, you're going to absolutely like lose this fight, you should not be. But he's like, no, I need to avenge I need to get the souls back of the Finders. It's like, fine, but like go about this in a smart way. Don't just go headfirst into a battle with like one of the strongest elemental masters that there is. So although at this point I don't think Noctis really has his, I don't know if the hollowed out Forbidden Five have their elemental powers, but anyway, Zane is just completely gone. Zane is just like, they at the very start, him and Pixel, they're like, oh, we're going to go explore the merge lands in order to, you know, if we find out some information, we'll send it back to you guys, but we're going on like a vacation or something. So Zane and Pixel, they're just gone, which is a bit of a shame because, you know, they're one of their main characters, and to just have them leave for, I mean, I guess it's a fine reason they're going to travel to merge lands. And at the very start of this half, it's like the world is not exactly in danger anymore because they did manage to defeat Thunderfang, and the Forbidden Five are no longer an issue. The only thing at the very start of the season that is really a threat is that Eren and Sora are still with Roz, so they're like concerned about their well-being, but you know, that's not exactly world life-threatening, I guess. So yeah, who else is in this? Lloyd is good, but this falls back into the same issue that I had with, I think it was season 2 part 1, where the entire time, like in that season, Eren thought he was like not good enough and he was like failing the team and stuff, and they fall back into that same thing where in season 3 part 1, it's like they did a good job of kind of averting that, like where you do have Eren, he is now working with Roz, and so he doesn't feel like his doubts come more so of like, can Roz really help him out and stuff. So I thought better compared to this, where it's like just now he leaves Roz. He realized that Roz is like evil, and Roz was going to make him sacrifice Sora. And to be honest, I'm wondering now who Roz ended up sacrificing, because they end up going to the underworld in order for Roz to forge another dragon icon. So, by the way, in the underworld, we do get a cameo from Krunka and Knuckle. I think those were their names, but the skeletons that were in the earlier seasons of Ninjago, they make a cameo, which was very nice to see. I'm enjoying the cameos, honestly. In the first part, we got Moro. In the second part, now we got those two. So very, very nice cameos to see. I was actually hoping that Moro was going to make a return. Like I thought, like by the end, when Thunderfang's defeating, maybe we would have a moment where Moro and Lloyd, they like meet again. So, but who knows? Maybe season 4 we'll get some more fun cameos. But yeah, so. Anyway, what was I saying? I went on like one tangent that led to another tangent that led to something else. So, well, who was I speaking about? Yeah, so Eren, he falls back into the whole thing of just him kind of being like, oh, I'm not good enough to even be a ninja at this point. Before it was like, I'm not good enough to be on the team. But then now it's like, I'm not even good enough to be a ninja, which it just got really annoying, to be honest. So I don't like that. Yeah, Eren just felt very annoying. And Lloyd, most of the season was him trying to like reassure Eren, like, no, you're not like a waste of space. Don't worry, it's like you're a valuable member of the team. So it was just really annoying that they fell back into this whole thing that was in season 2, part 2. So I think it was season 2, part 2, or it might have been season 2, part 1. It was probably both the seasons. And yeah, anyway, so didn't like that. Who else is there? Sora, she is good. She was, at the start, she was kind of with Eren and Roz, and then afterwards, she is just, I don't really remember her doing anything too special this season. She's just kind of doing her thing. And yeah, Frack is also here. Frack is just also kind of with the ninja now. He doesn't really have a big plot line. I think he still has a crush on Sora, and so they kind of focus that a bit at the end, but that's it, and it's not for much. So Frack is also like similar to Sora. They're just there. There's not really any big plot developments with them in terms of their, not specifically with their relationship, just like them as characters as a whole. So Wildfire, she is still good. She got a ship from Roby. Roby gifted her a ship. Roby's not really in the season. He's like hollowed out, similar to like pretty much all the other characters. So yeah, Wildfire, she's fine, still doing her thing as well. And who else is there? Wu speaks a bit. There's like a few moments where we see like the spirit of Wu. So he's like, not really a character, but he is mentioned. I guess his spirit is like here and there. So there is Thunderfang as a villain. I would say he's good, but it does kind of feel like he was probably better in the first half of the season, where it's like we were introduced to him and it's like we already saw him get defeated. So now it's just like, okay, it feels like a repeat, too much of a repeat of the first half of the season. Gandalaria, the sorceress, she is back in this, which is nice, but most of the season she's not in most of the season, but the parts that she is in, she is a coconut, which is just not really it's fine, but she's better in her actual human form, I thought. So, and then there's Roz. Roz, at the start of the season, he goes to the underworld, he forges a Source Dragon icon, and then after that, he ends up going to the monastery. I think he's going by the end of the season, we see that I think he captured the spirit of Wu. So Roz was fine, but it does feel like he did not get enough screen time this season. So, and anything else, the Forbidden Five, they're just hollowed versions of their former selves, which is a shame because they were much cooler when they were actual like physical characters and not just puppets for Thunderfang. The Dark Dragon Focus was fine, just kind of a kaiju that fought Thunderfang at the end of the season. The actual Source Dragons themselves, they do speak amongst themselves. They get into like an art, like they have a falling out at the end of the season where I think 3 of them, they ended up leaving the council, and so the ninjas' powers are kind of out of whack by the end of the season. At the end of the season itself, the ninja actually gets separated. They all go through monasteries to return to, I think it was Ninjago that they're trying to go back to Ninjago, but then I think Roz kind of caused them to ending up in like different areas that we're not sure where they are at the moment. So I'm excited for season 4 to see what happens with that. And yeah, I think that is pretty much all the characters that I mentioned. I might have missed some characters. Oh, Lee. There's also Lee. I don't know if I mentioned Lee, but Lee is... No, I mentioned Lee. I just don't know if I spoke about his character too much. But there's also Eren and Eren's parents, which I thought they were good for the moments that they were in. And Lee himself, it's like kind of interesting because I do like the whole thing of like him kind of realizing that he was wrong and stuff. I thought that was good. But besides that, the character... I know he's like a villain, but he's not really a cool villain. He's like one of the lamest villains that we've had up until this point of just like this guy that's like running a cult, and he doesn't want his like evil plans to get exposed. It's not really it's not really the greatest villain, but I would say that he was, I don't know, not the worst thing I've ever seen, but really not great either. So in terms of the characters, I will go with I'll go a 7 out of 10. I will say the characters were pretty good. The highlights are honestly just, I really like the Jay stuff. I already mentioned Jay. The scenes with Jay were the best in my opinion this season, so 7.58. I already said that was the best thing. Anyway, in terms of the settings, there's a lot of settings. We do see more of Mysterium, we see more of the Spectral Lands, we see Imperium for a bit, we see Ninjago itself, we see, what else? the Land of Lee. The Land of Lee I didn't really think too highly of that, but yeah, the Underworld, it's also cool. We get to see the Underworld, which we have not seen in a very long time. So there's settings I like let's see here. The Underworld was good. The Spectral Lands were good. Ninjago, more of that is good. The Land of Lost Things is good. The Administration as well is good, but then there's some places I didn't like as much. The Land of Lee, it doesn't even feel like it should be a realm. I don't know, like, yeah, the Land of Lee is probably at the moment my least favorite realm, to be honest, out of all the realms. So overall, it's a lot of settings, definitely. There are a lot of places that we end up seeing. Ninjago as well, we see Ninjago. So obviously this season has some of the most locations. The City of Temples, yeah, this season definitely has some of the most locations that we've seen in a single season, I think, up until this point. So the settings, I would give a 6.5. It's good, but honestly, like, we don't get to spend enough time in one specific setting for me to really rate it any higher. And yeah, I didn't like the new Land of Lee. It just didn't work for me, I would say. So in terms of the art style, I would give the art style, I guess, 6.5. It's good as usual. For some reason, the animation looked a bit off, in my opinion, more so towards the start of the season. And it might just be because it's like, well, I'm watching new footage of the show that I haven't seen before, so maybe it just, I don't know, it was like not something that I've seen before, so maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, it did look a bit off at times, the animation, so maybe it's just me, I don't know. Yeah, but just something I'm pointing out now, I guess. So in terms of the action, there wasn't too much action, really. Like, a lot of the fight scenes were just against these hollowed ghosts that they fought, the corrupted Dragonian warriors that were in the last season. So the action was against them, and it was kind of boring, to be honest. It wasn't that interesting. I did like the upgraded prismatic blades. I thought the prismatic blades are kind of basic in the first half of the season, but then when they actually get the upgrade, I think they look much cooler, and they're able to actually defeat the hollowed out ghosts, which I thought was cool. And what else? There was a fight scene between, oh yeah, I forgot to mention Rontu and Egalt. Rontu ends up going to the monastery with the ninja because Egalt, he sadly ended up dying at the very start of the season. I did think it was also a good funeral scene at the, like, it's not a funeral really, but his death scene at the start was pretty good, I would say. So there was a fight between Roz and Rontu, and besides that, there was the final battle, I guess the Archdragon of Focus versus the Thunderfang, which I didn't really, it just felt like generic. It wasn't like cool kaiju fighting because it was just this open area that they were fighting in. If you're going to have like giant monster fights, I kind of want it to be, I don't know, something like Godzilla versus Kong, where it's like in city areas or something, where it's like a bit more of an interesting setting compared to where they were fighting at, which was the Spectral Lands, but it was just this open field, and it wasn't even a field, it was just like this chasm in the Spectral Lands that they were fighting in. It was kind of a boring setting for a final fight. And there is some fight scenes. I guess they fight Lee a bit. They fight some of the administration. They fight and Mysterium a bit. It's like, I don't know, nothing too cool. I would say definitely not on the level of the Tournament of Sources or anything. Yeah, it's not anything great. I will say, like, the action, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'll say it's above average, but nothing too impressive, I would say. In terms of the worst thing, I will say the worst thing is just that it feels too much like, I don't know, the actual core thing of like the Forbidden Five collecting the souls. It feels like a major downgrade because it's like a repeat of last season's plot where they're trying to free Thunderfang, but at least last season it's like the Forbidden Five, they weren't being corrupted puppets, so it's like they actually, I mean, they were kind of still being manipulated by Thunderfang, but they actually had some personality to them, which I thought was good. And it's like we're recopying the plot of last season, but this season it's like just a bit more boring, and it feels like, okay, they're not going after prismatic blades which the ninja are in possession of this time around. It's just they're going after souls. So it just so happens that the ninja happen to be fighting them because they're going to areas that the ninja are at. So that aspect of this season I just didn't really like too much because I guess it is the plot itself. Like, the plot itself was, I guess, probably of what the Forbidden Five, I guess, freeing Thunderfang, it just didn't work as well for me. So I guess I'll just read the plot for the worst score. So another 2 out of 5 for the plot. And yeah, that is all of the score. So I'm going to do the calculations. So King Crimson. Alright, so it ends up coming out to a 6 out of 10, which would be above average, and I think honestly I'd give it a bit higher than that. I think it might be the recency bias, and it might just be because it's like me watching a brand new Ninjago content after over a year, so maybe I am being a bit like, yeah, maybe it is a bit of recency bias, but I think I would give it higher than that. I think I would give it probably like a 6.5. I'm going to be generous. I'm going to give it a 6.5. I thought it was a good season. I liked it more so than season 1, I thought. And I didn't like it as much. I liked it probably a bit more so than Season 2 Part 1, but it is not as good as the Tournament of Sources, aka Season 2 Part 2, and it was not as good as the first half of Season 3, I would say. So it's about right in the middle in terms of like the Dragon Rising season so far. So I'd give it a 6.5. I thought it was good, and yeah, that's basically what I'm going to give the season. So yeah, looking forward to watching Season 4 Part 1. That is currently the final season that is released up until this point, and so I'll review that eventually when I get to reviewing that, and then I'll do all the tier lists got a lot of tier lists I planned for this. We're gonna do like power ranking, the ninja, the characters themselves, you know, the weapons, the gis, the seasons themselves, the episode title names, a lot of stuff in the future when I do end up finishing reviewing the final season. So yeah, that is pretty much all there is to it. So if you have any recommendations, any shows, movies, video game stories, anime, manga, web series, anything that you want me to review, leave it in the comments and I will maybe possibly check it out. But that said, that is pretty much all there is to it. So let's leave it at that.